Luca, if anyone finds this recording, tell them the floor doesn't end. It loops. CERN, the world's largest particle accelerator, a place built to understand the smallest truths of the universe. But beneath its foundations lies something no equation could explain. On June 14th, 2023, maintenance technician Luca Morel descended alone to check a cooling relay on sub-level 4. At least, that's what the report says. The security logs show the elevator reaching a floor that doesn't officially exist, sub-level 5A. No plans, no sensors, no record of construction. Luca's badge pinged once, then again. Then, 13 minutes later, the same badge pinged from above ground, while the elevator was still descending. By morning, the only trace left was this: a corrupted voice log recovered from the lower data channel. Luca, I thought it was a stairwell, but every turn brings me back to the same junction. No temperature drop, no radio signal, no time. It's like the place is watching me think. For days, technicians tried to replicate the signal. Each attempt ended in failure. Every path to that floor was sealed, mapped, and erased from CERN's internal database. But one folder remained, buried under an archived experiment name, Project Thalassa. Inside, a single file, time-stamped 19 years in the future. The voice in that file was unmistakably his, older, slower, still trapped in the same loop. Luca, they think time moves forward down here, but it folds. Every second is touching the next. I can see the end of the corridor. It's me. The official CERN report concludes that the technician suffered a fatal electrical accident. No mention of the hidden floor. No mention of his final transmission. But if that's true, why did the file update itself last week? To understand what he meant when he said the floor doesn't end, we have to go back to the night he disappeared. The Large Hadron Collider, hidden beneath the French-Swiss border, is the most powerful scientific instrument ever built. 17 miles of tunnels, a ring of magnets designed to recreate the first moments after the birth of the universe. Down here, under 500 feet of rock, time isn't measured in minutes, but in rotations. Billions of particles circling every second. Every heartbeat above ground lasts an eternity below. Among the thousands of engineers who keep it running was Luca Morel, age 37. Not a physicist, not a genius, just a man who made sure the machine stayed alive. His days followed the same rhythm. Check the magnetic alignment, replace a failing coolant valve, drink coffee that tasted like copper and dust, wait for something, anything, to happen. He once joked that the collider ran better than the people maintaining it, that its pulse was steadier than theirs. Luca had no publications, no ambitions of fame. He worked because he loved the quiet, the hum of a system so vast it felt alive. Sub-level 3's pressure nominal. Copy that, cooling stable. To most, CERN was a temple of order. Every corridor mapped, every variable accounted for. But Luca noticed things others didn't. Tiny irregularities in the routine, logs that updated themselves, doors that didn't appear on the blueprints. Sometimes, while doing night shifts alone, he'd hear the lift descend without being called. When he'd check the cameras, the feed would cut to static, then resume, empty. He mentioned it once to a colleague. They laughed, called it maintenance fatigue. He laughed too. But later, while logging the night's inspection, he caught something strange in the access database. Between the regular entries, sub-level 2, sub-level 3, sub-level 4, a new tag appeared. Access, sublevel 5A, status, active. He blinked, refreshed the page. The line vanished. At CERN, every action leaves a digital fingerprint. Every door, every badge swipe, every relay change. There was no record of anyone adding that entry, no access permissions, no explanation. When he brought it up to his supervisor the next morning, she shrugged it off. Probably a mirrored cache, she said, a network ghost. But Luca couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone had left a trace for him to find, a message hidden inside the code. But that night, the maintenance logs showed a level that shouldn't exist. The next morning, Luca returned to the control room, still thinking about the phantom entry, sublevel 5A. He wasn't supposed to. He was assigned to magnet calibration on the East Loop, but something about that extra floor gnawed at him. When he pulled up the maintenance records, the timestamp from the night before had changed. It now read 03:17 a.m., March 11th. The problem? It was June. He rebooted the terminal. The clock corrected itself until he opened the log again. Every time he scrolled past the entry for sublevel 4, the date flickered forward by 19 years. He brought it up in the morning briefing. The response was polite, predictable, and dismissive. Supervisor, our internal clocks sync with atomic time. You're seeing a software artifact. Ignore it. Another technician joked it was the collider predicting the future. Everyone laughed, everyone but Luca. That evening, he stayed late again, claiming he needed to check the relay temperatures. At 11:42 p.m., he badged into sublevel 4. The elevator descended smoothly, then stopped halfway. The panel read, "Transit delay." There was no such message in CERN's elevator protocols. Luca. Control, this is Morel. I'm stuck between levels 4 and 5. Static. He waited. The air felt heavier, denser, as if the walls themselves were bending inward. After a minute, the doors opened, but not onto sublevel 4. It was colder here. The walls were unfinished concrete, the lighting older, yellow halogen, instead of the standard white LED. It looked like a space forgotten during construction. Except for one thing, a single power node still active. On its screen, a line of code repeated endlessly, temporal anchor lost, retry. He reached out to touch the console. The moment his hand brushed the metal, every light went out. The emergency beacons flickered red, and his comm radio erupted with distorted voices, fragments of sentences, like overlapping transmissions. Voice 1. You shouldn't. Voice 2. Still down here. The elevator above him began to move on its own, cycling between floors. He tried his radio again. No signal. Then the lights blinked once more, and for the first time, he noticed the clocks. There were 3 of them, mounted along the corridor. Analog, simple, out of sync. One read 11:59 p.m., June 14th, 2023. The next 4:32 a.m., March 11th, 2042. The third had no hands at all. He stared, frozen, as his wristwatch began to tick backward. And when the lights came back on, his wristwatch read March 11th, 2042. CERN's control center logged the anomaly at exactly midnight 13 a.m. An unauthorized signal coming from beneath sublevel 4, a dead frequency. The ID tag belonged to technician Luca Morel, though his access badge had been inactive for over 20 minutes. At first, the staff thought it was feedback from the emergency comms line until they realized the transmission was live. Control, this is Morel. Is anyone receiving this? I think the floor is moving. When technicians tried to trace his location, every camera showed the same image, A loop of him walking, pausing, turning, and then walking again, like a reel caught between two frames of time. Then came the second anomaly, gravitational fluctuation. The pressure sensors along the collider ring began to spike and drop in impossible intervals, suggesting that space itself was bending. Engineer log, internal memo. Subject experiencing time drift relative to control center. Estimated desync 0.6 seconds and increasing. Recommend abort and lockdown. But Luca didn't respond to the recall signal. He wasn't ignoring them. He couldn't hear them anymore. The deeper he went, the more the radio began echoing his own words back to him, seconds before he said them. Luca. Testing radio. 1-2. 1-2. Can you hear me? He froze. The corridor ahead vibrated with faint blue light, as if the air itself had density. Each step felt heavier, slower, as if gravity was changing direction mid-breath. The deeper he moved, the more the environment broke its own rules. Surfaces flickered between wet and dry, cold and warm. The sound of his own footsteps began to arrive before he took them. He turned a corner and found his own footprints leading out. Back at the surface, CERN initiated a full shutdown sequence. Every magnetic field collapsed, power drained from the collider. But Luca's radio kept transmitting, steady, clear, and impossible. Supervisor. Kill the feed. He shouldn't be online. There's no current down there. Yet his voice continued, now doubled. One near, one far. One sounded like it was coming from right behind him. Luca. Someone's here. I can hear breathing. It's me. No, it's... What CERN didn't know was that the signal wasn't transmitting upward. It was reflecting, bouncing between moments of time. Every echo of his voice was another version of him, caught between seconds. Luca, you're almost back where it started. And then he heard himself say, you're almost back where it started. For 72 hours, CERN remained in total lockdown. No one entered. No one left. Every system tied to the collider had been powered down, disconnected from the grid, yet one terminal deep in sub-level 4 remained active. Its feed displayed a continuous stream of data, thermal fluctuations, atmospheric pressure, time stamps shifting forward and backward by milliseconds, then seconds. The readings were impossible. They showed two identical moments occurring at once, layered together like reflections trapped in glass. When the analysis team reconstructed the logs, the truth began to emerge. There was no hidden flaw. Sublevel 5A never existed in physical space. It was a temporal echo, a standing wave in time, created when overlapping proton streams in the collider accidentally synchronized with a perfect harmonic resonance, a ripple of space-time folding in on itself. For a few seconds, CERN didn't just collide particles, it collided moments, and Luca Morel, the only person inside the ring's magnetic perimeter during that alignment, had stepped directly into it. The voice logs revealed that he wasn't moving through a tunnel. He was moving through time's afterimage, a recorded moment playing itself endlessly. Luca. I can see myself. He's just ahead. Or behind. I'm not sure which. In those few minutes, Luca became both observer and observed, trapped between the cause and the effect of his own existence. Every step he took created an echo, a version of himself displaced a few seconds forward, an endless feedback loop of awareness. When the team finally stabilized the collider's magnetic field, the signal vanished. The elevator above reappeared on the system grid, but Luca did not. All physical traces of him were gone. No uniform, no tools, no badge, except for one thing. 36 hours after the shutdown, the CERN intranet received a new message. No sender, no timestamp. Just a single file attached, titled thalassa9.log. Inside was Luca's voice. Calm, slower, older. Luca, if you're hearing this, I found a way to send it through the fold. Time doesn't flow here. It resonates. Every moment wants to repeat itself. Don't look for me. I'm already on my way back. The metadata was analyzed immediately. The audio compression, the syntax, even the breath pattern, all authentic. But there was one problem. The file had been uploaded on March 11th, 2042. The signature matched his CERN ID, last used in 2023. 3 weeks after the incident, CERN issued its official statement. They called it a data synchronization fault. A harmless software error, they said. Nothing unusual. All logs referencing sublevel 5A were deleted. All network backups destroyed. And the technicians who had monitored Luca Morel's transmission were reassigned. No one spoke about it again, at least not publicly, but off the record, the whispers persisted. Anomalous readings, missing timestamps, a pulse that kept appearing in the collider's dormant systems exactly every 19 hours. They tried to isolate it. They couldn't. The frequency matched the pattern of Luca's last transmission. His workstation was left untouched. Inside, a single flash drive sat taped beneath the desk, labeled only with a date, 2042. No one was supposed to know it existed. But Lena, one of the research physicists who had worked beside Luca, kept it hidden. Late one night, she decrypted the files. Most were corrupted, except for one. It wasn't data. It was a message. Luca. Lena, if time folds, then memory becomes a place. I think that's where I am now. Every moment touches every other. I can walk through them, hear the past like a hallway full of echoes. Sometimes I hear you too, still here, still waiting. For a moment, she thought she imagined it, until the system clock beside the file began to shift. Hours dissolving into minutes, minutes into years. It flickered between 2023 and 2042. She reached for the keyboard, but the cursor moved on its own. One final line appeared on screen. Thank you for remembering me. And then the terminal powered down. Lena never told anyone. But in her next paper, one quietly published under an unrelated project, she included a strange phrase in the acknowledgements, dedicated to the ones who remain between seconds. Maybe time isn't a straight line. Maybe it folds, curves, and bends back on itself, pulling those who linger too close into its echo. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe time isn't about where we go, but what remembers us when we're gone. For some, the experiment ended. For others, it never did. For centuries, humanity has chased one question. What is time? We've measured it, divided it, tried to control it. We built machines to capture it. Cameras, clocks, colliders, each one promising that, if we look closely enough, we'll finally understand. But time has never belonged to us. It only allows us to visit. What happened to Luca Morel wasn't an accident. It was a reminder, a warning maybe, that our search for the beginning might lead us straight into the loop itself. Because if time can fold, then memory isn't a record. It's a doorway. The official line says, the collider is safe again, that every variable has been accounted for. But the people who were there, the ones who heard Luca's voice through the static, they know better. Every 19 hours, a low pulse still echoes through the lower grid. Not enough to trigger alarms, just enough to remind them. Something's still running. Some scientists say it's residual interference. Others believe it's something far stranger. A heartbeat. waiting to synchronize. Late one night, Lena returned to her workstation. The collider was silent. Outside, the city lights of Geneva flickered under a freezing rain. She opened her inbox to archive her last report. That's when she saw it. An unread message at the top of her screen. No sender, no subject line, just a single email address, luca.morel@cern.ch. The timestamp read March 11th, 2042. Inside was one sentence, no signature, no greeting, just words that looked typed in haste, or maybe in fear. I think I found the way back. The system logged the email at 3:17 a.m., the exact minute his last transmission cut off 19 years earlier. Maybe it was a prank, a system error. Or maybe it wasn't. If time folds, then perhaps he never left. Perhaps he's still walking the same corridor, sending signals across years, waiting for someone to answer. If this message reached her, maybe it was never meant for her at all. You're late.